Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Today we're going to be taking a look at Arena the Contest by Dragori Games and designed by Alexander Aboud, Clayton Machado, and Danilo Alcantara. Now this is going to include all of the Wave 1 content that has just recently delivered to Kickstarter backers. This is also going to include the painted components as well as the legendary box, the Dragon collection, and all things sleeved. So this is everything that is available currently for Arena the Contest and how it's organized into the core game boxes as well as that legendary box in Dragon collection. Now, before we begin, I do want to just mention that this is a huge game. A lot of this game has a lot of miniatures, and they come in game trays, and they're going to keep things protected. This is one that you're probably going to want to keep a lot of stuff in the correct boxes because the game is really just pretty, especially if you have that painted version. You want to make sure that your game is definitely well protected. So let's go ahead and see how these inserts are intended and how they work. Let's go ahead and jump on in. So first off, we're going to look at the core game box here. And this box is going to contain lots of different things. Now, right off the bat, you're actually going to leave that cardboard insert in here, and this is going to hold your rule books. So not only your rule book, but also your quest guide, your campaign tome, your quick start guide, which is extremely nice. And lastly, the additional expansion content here for that Hydra that you're going to find in that legendary box. So this is a scenario for that. Underneath that, you're going to have the base game board. This has that pre-printed scenario. You'll see where the other boards are in a second. So you'll leave all of that content on here. It keeps it nice and flat, and it's very easy to take in and out. You simply just use these tabs here and move them along. So really nice there. Now underneath, you'll see that we have this nice game trays component organizers, as well as we've replaced our miniature here with the painted version. Let's go ahead and look at this first tray. So the first tray here is going to have all of your heroes, and these heroes are actually from the additional heroes box. So you are going to actually take that box and put all the miniatures the way they belong. Now, I do not like having the cards here because if you do sleeve them, you're only able to fit a couple, and you're not going to be able to see all the figures, so you're going to have to remove them every time. So I think it's better to just remove the cards completely from this section. Now you're going to have all of those figures. Once again, these are going to be from that additional box. But you're also going to have some empty spaces for now. And seeing as we have some empty spaces, we can fill them up with some tokens. Now if you look here, we have all of our round tokens. These are going to be the life markers for the round player. So in the base game, they had it like kind of tied to the person, but this one, it made it a bit more generic, so it's a bit easier to tell that. You also have our hexagonal monster pieces, our colored doors, as well as your colored doors for these scenarios. So you have lots of different things here, but these specifically you're going to want to keep because yes, you can use the miniatures, and the miniatures are intended to replace these, but if you're going to use those, notice these doors are different colors. So unless you've painted your doors, you're gonna probably wanna use these until you get those painted. So there is this extra room here for those tokens. So we leave those in these little component organizers. You can tell their shape for figures, but there are just no figures of that shape currently. Now, in addition, in this section here, you'll have additional plus 70 health tokens here. That's for your larger bosses. You can use those to track. And then you also have additional tokens for XP, as well as these rune symbols. So we also have one small miniature in here, but all of this is going to be stored in here. These are going to be your doors, your colored doors, your hexagonal monsters, your additional health markers, and then the round discs here. These are going to be for your life points for that round player. So that's all in this first tray. Let's go ahead and jump to the second tray. Now this second tray is going to contain even more of the heroes, and a lot of these are going to be your core game heroes, but you're also going to have the cards in the center here separated by their box type. So let's go ahead and take a look. So first off, we see that we have some neutral characters as well as our orange and blue, so we've gone ahead and separated by that exact same type here. So we've got our specials for the different characters, so those all fit nicely into here. And you can organize this as you see fit, kind of which character goes in which section. So you have a little bit of choice in how you organize things here. Now the insert itself, they do kind of slide around, so keep that in mind when you're pulling things up. But honestly, this is just where you're going to keep the majority of your character cards, and you can group them by color. So once again, just kind of group them here by whatever color type they are. They're different roles. And the last thing you'll notice in this section outside of the miniatures are these tokens here. These are going to be for your hexagonal life point counters. So we saw that there were those round ones in that other one. These hexagonal counters are going to be perfect, and you can store them here, and that way you can differentiate between those different health markers. So I really like how they did this, so you're not having to find a specific token for each character. You just use the generic one, since you're only allowed one roll for each side anyway. So once again, organize those cards as you see fit. These are going to be all of your character cards for the different combatants. And that's the second tray. Now this bottom tray is probably the one that you're going to need the most assistance with, because this does not come with any labels or anything like that. Let's go ahead and take a look. First off, if you do have the painted dragon, you're going to replace that regular dragon with this painted one. He looks pretty dang amazing. So I really like the paint job on this. And once again, he fits nicely in this corner here, and the organizers themselves have this nice cutout. That way he won't be damaged and protected. Love that. So he sits in that corner there. We'll take him out for now. Next up, we have all these different cards on the bottom. First off, we have our rings. These are the different colored bases for the enemies, if you're using the miniatures. And then over here, we have some of the campaign cards. We have the boss spells, villain spells, we have fate spells, and then we also have the level up cards. And then next, we're going to have the campaign cards, but I'm not going to take these out. These are just the campaign decks. They have the story information for that campaign. So you're going to leave all those in the bottom here, because realistically, you're probably not going to get them out every game. So you can leave them there, especially if you're playing the 1 versus 1 or 2v2 or 3v3 or 4v4, the competitive version. Now that being said, let's look at the rest of these tiles. These are all terrain tiles. First off, if you notice these two sections, these are all the same type of tile. In this large section here, they're organized from small to medium to large, and these are the double-sided bone and walls, and those are going to fit, like I said, small, and then medium, and then large. Next, you're going to see this one. This is an additional set of walls. These are all the same size though, and those are going to fit nicely in this section here. So those two are double-sided. They're going to be grouped together, and that's kind of the trend that you'll notice as you look through these different shapes. We got our 2 dice. We've got our 2 team markers, and once again, the shape matters. If you have that hexagonal one, that's your life point markers. Grab those hexagonal ones, and then the circle one is if you're playing with the circular health markers. Underneath that, we're going to have all of these shapes. So once again, the terrain type stays consistent. So we're going to go ahead and leave those in this section here. Next, we're going to have these tunnels or these doors. They look kind of like staircases. They're kind of raised up here. That way they stay nice, easy to push out, easy to grab. In this next section, we're going to have all of the portal tiles. Once again, very straightforward in what they do. Those go in that one. And then on the left here, we have these doors. Now, once again, you're going to want to keep these unless you've painted your doors, your 3D doors that come in the legendary box. Those go on that left side. So these are all of these sections here. The next thing we take a look at is we have these miniatures that are going to stay in here, so you can leave those as you see fit. But in this last large section, this is where we're going to keep all of the fire tiles. So we've got the large fire tiles, these square fire tiles, these 3x1 fire tiles, and then underneath that, you have these 2x1 fire tiles. And underneath that, you're going to have all of these 2x4 fire tiles. And on the back of the fire tiles, there are all of these pit traps. So this works rather logically if you think about it. All of the scenario terrain is going to be grouped together. So we have those large fire tiles, those small fire tiles that fit there, those longer, small fire tiles that go on top, these squares that go on top of that, and then lastly, those rectangular fire tiles. They all fit snugly in here and make a nice package. The next thing you're going to check are these. You got some treasure tiles, and then lastly, you have all of your different status tokens. Those are going to fit nicely in here as a large group. And that's everything in the core game box, and this one does close without lid lift, but you are going to have some lid lift in the other box. So let's go ahead and pack this one up. We got to make sure we put those player round markers there, our bases for our minis, and then our dragon back where he belongs. And when you place these back into your container here, you're going to want to make sure that you're putting it around your dragon. That way you're not going to keep on clipping his edge. You got to be careful with this wing here. It's going to stick out. Just be careful with that one. So these all go around like so. And then lastly, we place those rule books on top. And that's everything in the core box. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what's in the legendary box. So the legendary box here is going to have some lid lift, and you're going to see why. It's got about 2 inches of lid lift. You can solve this problem by simply removing the things inside. So the first thing is the hero pack itself. Now you're not going to keep the miniatures in here, but you are going to keep all of your sleeved large cards. So these are going to be all of your condition reminders and all of the different characters that you can pick as for the game. And then on the bottom here, all of the bosses that you may fight. So just keep that in mind. You definitely don't need to keep them in the box. So I prefer it in here. That way you don't slide around to get damaged, and you can simply just pull off the top. Another thing you can do is simply throw away the lid, and that way you're reducing that setup time, right? You can just simply pull them out, and the top of the lid here is going to keep them nice and safe. So that's one thing that you can do. So that's the hero pack box that's going to hold all the figures. Underneath that, you have the 2 additional boards here. And these boards are going to be used, once again, to add some variance to your gameplay, so you don't have to set up that terrain every time, and give you some nice artwork on that board. Underneath here, you have more trays, and we are going to keep these trays and just use them appropriately. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first tray. So this first tray is going to contain all of your kind of neutral gray miniatures. We have our neutral tokens here. So these are going to be all the ones that are for specific icons or NPCs or characters. You also have those round-based bosses. On this right side, we're going to have your heroic actions, and you are going to need this for each game that you play, because you're going to deal out one of each to each team, and so that way they can pick their heroic actions. You have your objective traits. You have your objective traits here, as well as your artifacts and additional sleeves. They fit nicely in this section there. You'll have all your scroll cards, your evil power cards, and then your flask cards. So if you do want to add some variance to your games. And that's all in this top tray. You will need to go in this one if you're going to be playing that competitive version. Underneath here, we have another entire just row of miniatures. You're going to need these if you're going to be playing that adventuring mode, the co-op version. Once again, lots of models here that you're going to be using for enemies. Next, on this upper right section, we have 2 dice bags. Now the reason we have them in 2 different bags, if you get that dice expansion, each of them are going to have specific color palettes. In this white one, we've kept all of the clear dice. And you can just basically give a bag to each player, and that's the type of die they're going to be using for this game. In this case, these clear dice, you just toss them to somebody, they use all clear dice, because in the dice bag that comes with the box here, these are all going to be opaque. So these dice are all opaque, and you're going to give that to another player. So it's easy to tell, okay, mine are all the opaque ones, or mine are all the clear ones. It's nice, you can just toss the bag to the player, and they're able to grab the dice that they need of their color for each character. It's really cool, you can tell who's doing what, easy to track. The last thing we're going to check here is the bottom of the box. Now, first off, you'll see that we just have walls on walls. These doors are going to go in these small doors here, more walls, and then the large doors. Now, once again, do not use these large doors or small doors unless you plan on painting them, because the color does matter, right? And you can't really tell what the color is like this. So do not use them unless you've actually painted them. You also have some switch tokens, which are pretty sweet, as well as the bosses. You're pretty much going to leave these where they are, because once again, these are very nice miniatures. You want to make sure that they are nice and protected. These right and left sections, though, you're going to notice something. So to access these, you simply will push the wall to the side like this, and then you'll grab from the bottom here, and they're easy to take out. You're going to have your Queen of Dragons card, your bosses, and then you're going to have lots of scenarios, talismans, all sorts of things for the campaigns, as well as the different boss cards. And then also, these are going to include the cards from the Dragon expansion, so the Dragon collection. So the Dragon collection allows you to play competitively, so it says, with the dragons. I have not played with them yet, but you're going to have all of the different cards for those different beasts. And that includes the Elder Dragon, which is an additional model, and we'll talk about that as well. So these are all of those different dragon cards if you're going to be using them as combatants or as bosses. So very cool. They fit nicely in this left and right section. You probably won't play with them all the time, but they will be here, and that way you don't need to take them out every time. You can just sit in one large stack. And that's everything in the legendary box, so let's go ahead and pack this up. Now, once again, you're going to put the Hydra in the corner there, and that way the Hydra is not going to get damaged or ruined. His little spikes on his head are going to be fine. And then you'll simply drape those dice on the left here, and that way he is staying nice and safe. You'll then put the additional boards on top, that hero pack on top, but you can always leave these outside of the box if you want to have no lid lift. So it's up to you how you want to manage that. Woo, what a box fart indeed. So that's everything in the legendary box. Now the last box we're going to look at is the Dragon collection. So the Dragon collection here is a painted edition that we have in our library, but it also comes with this gigantic miniature dragon. Now, my recommendation to you is take this bad boy out of the box and just put him somewhere. We use a glass display case in our library just to showcase him, but realistically, he's kind of like the tree in Everdell. Once you assemble him, you really don't want to disassemble and put him back in the box. You're going to keep on taking things out of the joints here, and that's going to ruin your model if you keep taking it in and out and in and out. It's going to ruin it over time. So leave it assembled. It's going to look fantastic, and this thing is gigantic and huge. Look at how awesome this guy is. How fun is that? And this is a playable miniature. How cool. So that's the big giant dragon. Just take him out and put those cards into that legendary box. Now let's take a look at the dragon collection. In here, we are going to have lots of cool painted dragons, but no actual card components. We're going to have the different scenarios for the Boss v Boss cards, as well as the additional scenario for the giant dragon. They're just going to rest in here because, hey, this is the dragon box. So put those in the top, but you are going to leave everything else the way it is, minus the sleeves in here. The dragon sleeves will not fit in here without getting damaged if you group them all together, hence why they're in the other box. So this is simply just a miniatures box that's going to keep things protected. So let's go ahead and take a look at these different dragons. First, we have our Undead Dragon, and this thing is incredible. Look at this guy in all his majesty. Incredible. So that is our Undead Dragon. He looks so good. All of these dragons look so amazing. Next, we have our Black Dragon here. Once again, amazing. We had been wanting a game where there are just some epic dragons that can throw down, and this delivered. How cool is that? We have that one for Kingdom Death Monster, but look at that. Amazing. So that goes in there. We have our Ice Dragon in the center there. Fantastic. Look at this guy. Absolutely amazing. So that is our Ice Dragon. Love this one. But my favorite dragon has to be this guy. This is the Blue Dragon. Oh, he just looks so incredible. I love the way that he's kind of protecting his eggs here. I love the different spines. He's a little pokey. The detail and the color. I love the saturation of blue. He is absolutely wonderful. This model is my favorite for sure. And then lastly, and for the dragons, we've got the classic red, get away from my treasure, the Hoarding Dragon. How cool is that? So they look incredible. Love the way that these models look. Absolutely well done. And lastly, we've got your small miniature here for the Dragon Queen. So once again, she is painted. She looks fantastic. Another beautiful touch to this box. And that is everything in the Dragon collection. So let's go ahead and just simply place the top on here. Put the Boss v Boss as well as that scenario on the top. And then you can close up that Dragon collection box. And that is organizing Arena the Contest. I hope some of you found this useful in just figuring out where the tokens and the miniatures and the cards may go. Are you excited to try Arena the Contest yourself? Is this one that's been in your collection for a while and that's a favorite? I'd love to hear what you think. If you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We really appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching. SideGame Strong.